strikes. Is the ceasefire with Iran still on?
Yeah, it is. It's they trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. I'll let you know when there's no ceasefire. You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement fast.
So they're the words coming out of Trump today. That is the breaking announcement, because just recently, just when we thought this thing was coming to an end, they're fighting again. So Trump and Iran are fighting again. And you got to give it to Trump, his words right there. So if there's no ceasefire, there's just going to be like a huge mushroom cloud over Iran, apparently. So a huge glow. And you can't make this stuff up. And guys, in today's video, we're going to talk about the silver price, the gold price. We're going to talk about the financial markets and also give you the latest updates, right? So what do I think's actually happening with all this, conflict happening in the Middle East, what we can expect, and where is the smart money going? Where is the some money getting evaporated from the stock market as well? Plus an absolute ton more. So if you guys enjoy it, you do enjoy these updates, even though we get like 50 views. Guys, just like the video. It's nice to know people are out there. And guys, let's get straight into today's video. And so that is the update we had from Trump, right? So there was some type of, it did look like it was coming to a close yesterday, but just recently there has been a fight between the US and Iran. So you can see right here, according to a report from CBS, the USS Truxtun and USS Mason came under intense attack from Iranian fast attack boats, drones and missiles in an engagement that has been characterized as far fiercer than the past engagement the two vessels were involved in. 5-inch deck guns, small arms equipped personnel on board the vessels, aircraft and CIWS were employed to repel Iranian attacks. Per the report, despite claims that Iran that they were struck, neither was hit during the engagement. So that is interesting. So they're claiming nothing actually hit right here on those two ships. And I would say, look, I'd be pretty nervous if I was floating around the Persian Gulf in one of them, because they don't look all that big, just kind of eyeballing it right there. But that apparently is something that happened. But as a result of that, Trump struck back. So there was an attack in the port city of Bandar Abbas and also Qasem Island as well. So Iran getting hit by the US. As this thing kind of escalated, and as a result, there was a little bit of a sell-off in the market. So if you actually see right here, the correlation effect, as that intel came in, silver did drop. But have a look, it's going back up. So people are starting to factor in, look, that this is not too bad, right? So something else interesting that came in, some people might say this is a false flag or something like that. But there is a Chinese vessel that was struck by Iranians, apparently. So we do know China and Iran have been getting on very, very well. So if there was an attack against a Chinese vessel, what's up with that? There might be some interesting things happening right there if it does appear, whether that actually happened or not, that Iran struck China. We'll see. We'll see the truth behind that matter, but something very interesting developing there. And Trump says the ceasefire is still in effect. So look, we're going to have to basically take this conflict day by day. It needs to fall into the category that basically anything can happen at any time, especially with Trump and Iran. We do know the Iranians have consistently held a point of view that they're not really negotiating, they're not really budging too much. Whereas we have seen a lot of claims out of Trump that the war is over, there's a ceasefire, then it's on again. So it is a highly confusing war to just listen into and witness. But at the moment, look, silver doing very good. So I think the fundamental thing is we did get, some pretty decent intel recently that it does look like it is coming to, towards an end, right? Even though it isn't fully there yet, it is looking promising. $80 silver, if you have a look right here on a longer term horizon for silver, you can see just how high the potential of this is. And the other thing I think you have to factor into, so if you're looking into gold, silver, platinum, copper, and it could be other types of, metals, one thing that is true is there's going to be so much money printing, right? It's just what happens with all these governments. And as a result of this, I'm not going to be surprised if we break above $80, right? So we're sitting at $80 for silver. We head up to like $90. That's going to be another important resistance level right there. So we're going to see whether that happens or not. I do think it's going to be tandem to more good news coming out of the Middle East. So if we do get that good news, I expect a very big pump to come into the financial markets and the metal markets as well. Platinum, look, they're all paralleling each other at the moment. So platinum looking very strong, and gold looking very strong as well. So they're all kind of heading back towards their all-time highs. Of course, it's just a slow progress to get there. But I would say, look, it's looking fundamentally very strong, right? The S&P 500 has been a huge absorber of money printing, and some stocks in the S&P 500 have been crashing out as well. So just recently, we've had the trade desk fall over 20%. The stock is now down 85% since 2024. So anything that is too tied into tech is in the high risk category at the moment. And we actually also had some interesting intel coming out of Zero Hedge just recently, and they were talking about Whirlpool is also going down quite a lot. So you can see this article get retweeted by Peter Schiff. Whirlpool crashes after Iran shock sparks recession level appliance slump. And I think, with a lot of Western economies at the moment, it's going to be a greater divide between the haves and the have-nots. And what I mean by that is basically if you have exposure to assets and you're not in a significant amount of debt, you're seeing record all-time highs in the S&P 500. You're seeing, gold, silver head back towards all-time highs. And the truth is, look, if you hold assets in an inflationary economy where there is a lot of money printing, you end up being a big winner. Whereas if you're just living paycheck to paycheck, everything else is getting way more expensive. So I guess that's the silver lining of being switched on in the stock market, in the gold and silver market, is look, a lot of people, obviously it's very tough times. There's a recession level we're getting some pretty weak signals coming out of Whirlpool, which sells a lot of appliances, and when appliance sales are up, people are obviously feeling very wealthy, upgrading a lot of things. Whereas, when they don't sell as much, they're holding on to things for longer, right? They just don't have as much money to spend on some of the more luxury goods, right? So they're trying to stretch things. And, the interesting thing is, look, S&P 500, record all-time high, gold and silver heading back towards all-time highs. So asset owners are winning in this economy. Even though it is highly inflationary and it is highly, geopolitically tense right now. And so, look, I don't know if this is exactly what's going to happen, but I have seen this interesting graph float around over on X, and I don't know if we're going down the hyperinflation route, but I just want to, put this on your radar because you can see right here the German stock market in marks in US dollars. Before it really went gangbusters, right? So it absolutely, went to the moon. You can see how much it kind of inflates it away. You are seeing a lot of money kind of go into the stock market, and this is something that just happens, right? So when money gets printed by the government, they go into more debt. The Federal Reserve expands its balance sheet. Yes, a lot of it will go into, the stocks, right? So it's not that the companies are getting, more profitable in real terms. It's just where the money gets absorbed. So that is something that's happening. So are we in the prelude of a Weimar America period? Look, we're going to find out about that. We'll keep our spider senses tingling to try and predict some of this. I do think there's going to be a lot more civil kind of conflict in the US, left versus right, and also the division within the right wing is only going to get more tense, I think, as time goes on. We'll keep our eyes peeled for that. But I'd say in the short term, look, gold and silver looking solid, S&P 500 growing, and we'll have to take it day by day to see what happens with Trump in the Middle East. And guys, that's your update for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a great rest of today, and I will see you in the next video.